Let's get educated. That's why we're here, to bring you the stories impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses. It's time for a little education.
Well, welcome one, welcome all, welcome anyone, basically. I am Katie Petrick, joined by David Fiorazzo, and we have been talking it forever. Forever and ever and ever. We've been talking about it. You know what that it is?
Yeah, what?
FreedomProject Academy,
That's
our
right.
K-12 Judeo-Christian online school, is enrolling students right this very moment for the fall. So please request your free information packet at freedomforschool.com. To get started, get some information, and get enrolled. It's freedomforschool.com. Okay, 8th grade girls. You're 13, you're 14 in 8th grade, okay? They were chastised by their teacher, who's definitely much older than that, all because they refused to accept their classmate. Well, you're saying, Katie, that must be... So they're bullies.
What?
These girls,
They're
they didn't
not
accept their
accepting and
classmate.
loving and supportive and inclusive and...
It's because their classmate identifies as a cat. Kitty cat. Meow, meow.
Okay.
And the conversation was all recorded. So, David, tell us more.
Okay, well, the proper word was excoriated.
Whatever.
The student was excoriated and called homophobic for refusing to accept her classmate who identifies as a cat. Now, this is southeastern England, but I've heard right here in the town, unfortunately, that we bring you educated, that one student, maybe more, wanted litter boxes because they were called furries.
Yes, and there's nearby a kid who identifies as a horse.
Okay.
Nay.
All right. I just want to move on with this and talk about the story in England. My point is, this is happening in America. So over in England, this school is under fire from parents and critics alike after one of its teachers chastised a student to accept because she refused to accept the classmate. We've got a video. Watch the subtitles. Go.
How dare you? You've just really upset someone. Saying things like should be in an asylum.
I didn't say that. I just said if they want to identify as a cat or something, then they're like genuinely on that.
Then they've gone.
Yeah, they're crazy.
You were questioning their identity.
I wasn't a question. I was just saying about the gender. I didn't say anything about them.
But where did you get this idea from? There's only two genders.
I just think it's my opinion.
That is my opinion.
If I respect their opinion, can't they respect my opinion?
It is not an opinion.
Yes, it is.
It's not an opinion you can have.
Loads of people think there's only two genders.
There's only a boy and a girl.
Today. There's no other private part. There's only two.
Gender is not linked to the parts that you were born with. Gender is about how you identify, which is what I said right from the very beginning of the lesson.
I just don't agree with that. So why should I have to listen to
biological sex, there is actually 3 biological sexes, because you can be born intersex. You can be born with male and female body parts or hormones.
Yeah.
Did you know that?
Yeah, there's 3. There's not 300.
Doesn't mean.
Yeah, there's 3. I'm talking about biological sex. In terms of gender, there are lots of genders. There is transgender. There is agender, people that don't believe they have a gender at all.
Yeah, but you can't have that.
You can't have that. It's not a law.
Yeah, it's not a law, but it's our opinion. We just don't agree with it. We just think it's all just...
If you have a vagina, you're a girl. If you have a penis, you're a boy.
Yeah.
But cisgender is not necessarily the way to be. You were talking about the fact that cisgender is the norm. That you identify with the gender of the sexual organ that you're born with, or you're weird. That's basically what you're saying.
Yeah.
Which is really despicable.
Despicable. Can we just say...
Oh, my goodness.
Those who live in East Sussex, which is where Rye College is, this is where the student school was, they have the most proper British accents. And when they talk like this, it's just so nice. But she's absolutely correct. Boys have penises, girls have vaginas. You know, in the movie Kindergarten Cop...
You can't have an opinion, though.
In Kindergarten Cop, they said that with Arnold Schwarzenegger and the little boy.
Oh, boy.
She probably watched that movie. How dare she? When you have just innocent young teenage 13-year-old girl being like, okay, sure, there are 3 sexes if you want to count intersex in there, not 300. The 13-year-old making sense. What is the adult in the room doing? Speaking out of the woke left, I don't know, dictionary or whatever
Katie,
they define
surely, I mean, Katie, this is just one isolated case in England, right?
I'm sure it is.
Just one isolated.
Absolutely.
This is a rogue teacher in England thinking, I'm going to create my own delusion and promote it, and I'm just going to do it in my classroom. Surely that's just this teacher in one classroom.
Yes,
No.
of course. And it was just despicable in one classroom.
By the way,
exactly.
It says the 13-year-old was subjected to a verbal thrashing by her teacher. But even if they're arguing, it doesn't sound like, because it sounds so
It's
like
a
they're still
proper
trying
British.
to be.
It's
It
a
doesn't sound like a
British.
thrashing.
But that's
But
what the Brits
nonetheless,
are. I love it.
Yeah, nonetheless, what did the headline say again? Student excoriated. But I mean, first of all, this idea that you can't have an opinion that's different from the other side, what's woke and everything else, that's dangerous. But also the promotion of lies, and apparently maybe this was the only student that spoke out and said, oh, wait a minute, she identifies as a cat, and then they get into the old gender discussion.
Yeah, they need to, let's focus more on the fact that what they are arguing in this conversation, if you will, is the fact that there is a student who identifies as a cat. A cat.
So you're saying there's something wrong with that?
A feline. Not a female.
An animal, not a
feline.
human. Not a human, but an animal.
An animal. And
Right.
a small one at that.
Well,
Not even a lion.
We've got them right here in Wisconsin, so why are we making fun of England?
How is that adult in that room able to defend this? And this goes back to the whole issue of everything. Like, how, as I guess the entire world, how did so much wool be pulled over our eyes? Like, how are we falling for all of this? When even 5 years ago, furries, or like, okay, you had like homosexuals. Okay, like we had LGB, and then the T. And then all of a sudden, here comes the Q, here comes the I, here comes the A, the plus, blah, 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 blah. How did we roll down that hill so very fast? And so many adults just, yep, okay, I accept it. You know, that's where this is.
It's deception, it's delusion, but you can read the second half of Romans chapter 1 in the Bible, read it slowly, and you'll get a very good explanation. It is God gave them over to a depraved mind. Anyway, I want to make out a point here. Rye College is an extension of the Anglican Church.
Of course it is. Of course it is.
Again, we did a story the other day about that church,
Air quotes,
in San Francisco with the pastor that was a queer, inclusive, drag, and whatever he
Something.
was that the green wig, or was that the other guy?
Great
anyway,
question.
I forget. They all kind of blur at this point. There they are. That's San Francisco. San Francisco. Granola country.
Ah, there you
Fruits,
go.
nuts, and flakes. So seriously though, a parent said, I understand the point. We're talking. Okay, we're back to England now.
Oh, sorry, back to England.
I
Across the pond.
I understand the point the teacher was attempting to make, but what bothers me is the shutting down of debate in such a manner. So this in an educational setting, in any kind of school. In colleges and universities are the worst. They're shutting down speakers, not just in the classroom, but it's really sad. Yeah.
Very sad. So sad.
So sad.
so
We need
England.
to move on. Still to come, a cartoon for 6-year-olds has now decided to introduce non-binary characters to force indoctrination and forced acceptance of the Rainbow Mafia into the minds of children as soon as possible. That's next.
Today's episode is brought to you by Freedom Project Academy. Take back your kids' education. FPA's fully accredited classical curriculum provides live, on-demand, and homeschool courses built on Judeo-Christian values. Request your information packet and save 10% on tuition by visiting freedomforschool.com. That's freedom, F-O-R, school.com.
Okay, well, meow meows, I guess, kitty cats
What?
are happening. So we're going to go from kitty cats over to baby bears.
Okay.
Okay. So parents, listen up. Here's another show you can cross off your list that you should not have your children watch. It's called We Baby Bears.
And where do they watch this?
Oh, it's a kids cartoon. It's decided to introduce school-age kids to gender ideology with non-binary characters who go by they, them pronouns. And hey, Cartoon Network, if you still have cable.
But wait, wait.
That?
Cartoon Network. Cartoons are for kids.
David.
Tricks are for kids and cartoons are for
Tricks
kids
are
too.
for kids. Now you're getting bunny rabbits involved in this. How many
Uh-oh.
different animals are we gonna just tackle?
Well, it depends.
So this show is supposed to be for ages 6 and up, and the episode is called Polly's New Crew. Let's take a look at Polly's New Crew.
Hey there! I am the great Winifred. She, her. Actor extraordinaire.
They're me new crew! This is awesome! Our crew also has a new addition, Pete Box. They use they, them pronouns, and they bake an exceptionally good quiche.
Yar, well met, Box. I use they, them pronouns as well.
Ugh. I love quiche. How dare you use that word in the same sentence
quiche
with pronouns? I'm offended.
I'm appalled.
She's, so.
Hopefully a pirate comes and attacks that ship. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. So what would be the point of this story here? Parents, you cannot assume any children's programming is safe even if it's animated. I mean, look at Disney. They put out 2 animated features that bombed because they're introducing LGBTQ, into these stories. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, in the thing is, my kids are younger, but I am like trying to find out. We have a DVD player. We purposely bought a DVD player so we can get the old DVDs.
That's a good idea. Good
to
idea.
watch if we're gonna watch things that before any of this started happening because you can't just like put on YouTube and even like, oh, it's a show. Like, okay, you put on the TV, PBS. If you put on Sesame Street, it's Sesame Street. It's fine.
Oh,
no, it was.
Not anymore.
So you can't just put on even shows that when you were a kid, that show, if it's still on, you can't put it on because what it's become. And so unless you are going to sit there with your children and watch every single moment of it and turn it off if something comes up, the kids are getting it. And why? Why is We Baby Bears? Why do they have to have the they, them pronouns? Why? You're a bear and a parrot. But hey, they're going to return with new episodes.
But
Come on down.
But all their friends, all the kids, they're all watching. So I like your point, though. I like your point a lot, and I think we need to start thinking of solutions and repeating those.
Oh, yeah.
How far back do you think you need to go when it comes to DVDs of some of these kids programs? Is it 15 years, 20 years?
Yeah, I'd say, and it depends on what age are your children to know it, in terms of what they can start. But like, yeah, 15 years. I'm going back to the things I watched as a kid. So Mr. Rogers, which, as we know in Mr. Rogers, he's probably canceled at this point for singing his song about how boys are boys and girls are girls.
Oh, that's right. He did that. Gasp.
But if we're going to watch any like kids programming or something, we're going to go back. Honestly, and I know it's probably controversial to some people, my kids, because it's summertime, have been watching Sandlot on repeat. Have you seen the movie Sandlot?
No, Sandlot.
Oh, it's a story of kids and they're like they'll be going to 6th grade and they're boys, and it's from the 1950s and it's baseball, and how in the fence behind them is a beast and it's really a big dog, and it's just a coming of age story about like boys playing baseball in like simpler times. And
baseball,
yes, there's
and
actually
dogs.
things there, but it's about the beast, the dogs, and it's about baseball and all that. And my kids are way too young to probably watch it. I get it. But it's way better and more safer than anything they have on today. So my kid, and the music's great because I love that era of music.
Oh, but that's a great suggestion. If you have suggestions,
yes,
get a hold of us. Let us know. Give us your
know.
comments on suggestions that parents need to be so much more proactive. I know you guys, young parents, it's a lot of work today. It's a lot more work than it was 50 or 75 years ago, but it's necessary. You've got to protect your kids and guard what goes into their precious minds and hearts.
Agreed. Now coming up, Minnesota, because you can't say Minnesota without saying
You can't?
Minnesota.
I can't. Minnesota.
Schools, their newest LGBT education specialist has come out.
Of course.
In many ways, saying teachers should discuss non-binary terminology with children as soon as they walk into the preschool. Yes, the preschool. Preschool, not, anyway. The plan to fully indoctrinate your kids is coming out of the womb, basically, at this point. It's in full swing. We're doing it. Stay with us.
Today's show is sponsored by our friends at MyPillow. Save up to 66% on pristine quality bedding, towels, slippers, signature pillows, and much more when you use the code EDUCATED. That's EDUCATED. Educated. Support this show and a great American company.
So by 6 years old, as we know, they're going to have your kids with the cartoons, as we just learned.
Right.
But they want them earlier.
And Disney.
Earlier. Yeah. And earlier. Preschool age is where they're right now. In Minnesota, specifically, the newly hired LGBTQ education specialist for the Department of Education wants preschoolers to know all about non-binary identities. Yeah. Jason Buckland, who is involved in LGBT activism, shocker there, called for children to learn about sexual orientation and non-binary identities as young as preschool, and has recommended projects for older students, too, to learn that gender, it's a social construct, David. It's a...
Of course.
He now plays a major role in promoting LGBT curriculum and all the various policies through all the schools that are in Minnesota. So let's see what he has to say.
And again, my name is Jason Buckland. I use he and him pronouns, and I'm the LGBTQ program coordinator with Minneapolis Public Schools, which is called the Out for Good program. Now, a couple assumptions that get sometimes made when talking about the Out for Good program. People might assume it's a relatively new program, and that the work is primarily for high schoolers. We really see the work as starting as early as pre-K, and I'll unpack that later for y'all. And this has been really great because we've been having questions about how do we explain non-binary identities to our preschoolers. If a teacher doesn't identify as a boy or a girl, how do we explain that to preschoolers who are just learning that there's only boys and girls? Enter neither, right? And in a world of just chickens or just ducks, there's only chickens and there's only ducks and there's only this and there's only that, until one day someone is born that's neither, right? And so it's also a really great way to get people thinking about how all the rules were told out. There's only one or the other option. There's actually more ways of being, right? And so that's a really great book to read and introduce as a way to introduce non-binary ways of thinking.
Yeah. That's what he's going to be doing now in Minnesota. That talk he just gave was actually from 2019. It was part of a series on inclusive classrooms, and it was put on by Achieve Twin Cities, a local educational organization.
Of course.
Now, at that time, he was the LGBTQ program director for the Minneapolis Public School, according to his LinkedIn profile, and a role that was tied to, as you said, Out for Good, which is a program that was run by MPS to support LGBT students, staff, and families. And so he's moved on and up from there to take control of the whole state, because why keep it just in the Twin Cities when you can have the entire state be LGBT everything?
So there's a part of this article I want to point out, and that is a job listing for LGBT education specialist with Minnesota that closed shortly before Buckland started the job. Offered, almost $100,000 a year.
Oh, nice.
Oh, just $99,000
Okay.
for doing what? A position that involved helping schools create LGBTQ school inclusion policies and practices using a racial equity lens to create a safer and more affirming learning environment for LGBTQ students.
Now, David, if you were trying to get that job, how would you show up to your interview? I feel like you would need to change your appearance just a little bit. Number one, get the bull ring. That's that we see. Your hair needs to be dyed.
Spike the hair and dye it.
Yeah. What would you wear though?
Oh, big framed colored glasses
that have no actual lenses in them, just the frames. You need to make sure you put all your flare pins
I could wear
on.
a coat, but with the big shoulders that sticks up like almost like a Disney character.
True.
Big shoulder pads.
And very skinny jeans. Oh. Very skinny jeans. Now, are you a leopard print guy or not?
I don't. I don't.
These are the things.
This is how rumors get started. I answered that question, no.
All right, fine. Let's get back to the indoctrination.
Yes.
This man, Buckland, he promoted children's books as a solution to promoting the non-binariness, whatever you want to call it. And as you see, he says, we've been having questions about how do we explain non-binary identities to our preschoolers. You heard him say that, right? And so he said, if the teacher doesn't identify as the boy or girl, it's always, as we've learned, about the teacher, the adults in the room, and how they feel and how they need to be, perceived by 3 and 4-year-olds, the preschoolers. And so we put that onerous, as always, on children whose brains are so malleable at that age, and it's their responsibility to use the proper pronouns for me and for my feelings and how I want to be represented. So I don't go home and cry myself to sleep because a 3-year-old is like, yeah, but you're a girl. This is where we're at. Yep. This is how we do.
Can I just say one more thing about Buckland?
I guess.
He's currently the organizing chair of the Queer Equity Institute. That's right, and he's in your government school, Minnesota, if there are some conservative or Christian parents there that are concerned about this. But Katie, this is surely one solitary,
just one
rogue
state
position in Minnesota. Surely they don't have these positions across the country.
No, this is just one of the 50. They probably have a conference for each other. Anyway, up next, we're going to talk some sillies and some funnies and some probably things I might cringe at. We've got our latest Babylon Bee headlines, so stay right there.
If you have a smartphone, tablet, Roku, or Apple TV, consider downloading the Freedom Project Media app. It's 100% free and includes all of our weekly shows, plus lecture series, archive programs, and award-winning animated videos for families like the Presidential Minute, Battles of America, and Heroes of the West. Don't rely on the social media giants to keep you informed. Simply download the Freedom Project Media app from your app store and allow notifications. And we'll let you know when a new video is ready.
All right, before we wrap up the show for the day, let's take a look at everyone's favorite satire site, the Babylon Bee.
Here are this week's top 5 Babylon Bee headlines.
Okay, this week, neither Katie or myself saw the headlines. So
really?
First time seeing them, and we will pick numero uno to find out which one should be named Queen of the Hive. Let's start with this one. Hunter seen at courthouse trying to weigh crack on Lady Justice's scales. Next.
That one. Just that one.
All right, we're done. Okay. Next. Hunter avoids jail time after pleading Biden. Next. Tongues of fire come to rest on Biden and Fetterman as they speak in unknown languages. Okay. Next.
I like it.
$ officially added to LGBTQ $ acronym.
Very nice.
That's really good. And finally, Satan asks LGBTQ community to please tone it down a bit. Oh my goodness.
That's a solid week.
Katie?
Solid week, Babylon Bee. Oh, I'm so proud of you.
I don't know.
Number one.
How are you going to...
Number one, because although my question is, are we sure it was actually crack? Was it Parmesan cheese? We don't know.
No, for Hunter?
For Hunter, we don't know. He snorted Parmesan cheese.
Okay.
Because he was so on.
Gosh, this is so hard. Thank you. Thank you for Mr. Menzel for picking these up. I'll say runner-up, and then I'll give you my favorite. The runner-up would be the tongues of fire that come to rest on Biden and Fetterman as they speak in unknown languages because they do. But number one, Satan asks LGBT community to please tone it down a bit.
Could you just,
Come on, Satan.
Hey guys.
All right, guys, you're
tame the fires. Tame the fires.
You're overplaying your hand. This wasn't
like,
supposed
hey,
to.
now.
This wasn't supposed to happen until the Great Tribulation. Come on, we're not there yet.
Yeah, we're supposed to just be easing it in here,
Oh,
you know,
my
so they don't
goodness.
recognize what we're doing. And you go, huh? But I think they may do a headline like this almost every year about in June. Similar headline about that.
Yeah,
because every year it gets worse.
Oh, that
and worse.
made my day.
Did it now?
But that's going to wrap it up for our headlines of the week. More satire next time, Katie.
Well, if you are a fan of this show, if you like it, comment, share it, all the things on the social medias. Now, for David, for myself, apparently, for the Biden situation, for Satan situation, for all of the things we've just talked about, thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and thank you for supporting this show. Until next time, stay educated.